you so much for listening to the inaugural episode of Bonsai Wire. We're just trying to figure all this out. We took about an hour to get our technology figured out, but I think we're all here.
Yeah,
so let's jump right in.
Wonderful. Yeah, great. And that was John Eads.
Okay. So let me just break in there. We're going to do this in the public forum. If you've ever met me, you know that I have British ancestry.
British
ancestry, and you can tell by my teeth that I have too many teeth for my mouth. So it's very obvious that I'm British. So my last name comes from like English. It doesn't come from other languages. And so my name is said like a bead without the B. So it's Eads.
John Eads.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, John. Oh dear.
I might as well correct you in a public forum.
Yeah, right. You haven't for the last year and a half, but now you are.
Right, exactly.
That's probably good.
Yeah, so it's just like feeds or beads without the F and the B.
Wonderful. Great.
John has a brilliant radio voice.
He does. And you will hear it shortly with our sponsorship. That, though, was Andrew Robson. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yes.
Good.
I'll correct you afterwards.
Okay, all right. I'm Michael Hagedorn, and we haven't heard from Jonas yet.
Hello, I am Jonas Dupuis.
All right.
Yeah. Where does Dupuis come from?
So we used to have a whole bunch of guesses, but very recently we've started suspecting that the name actually is French, just maybe not pronounced properly. Apparently, there are regions of France where it's not uncommon for there to be something like an ICH in a French word, and it actually means of or from the hills, apparently. So apparently I may come from French hill people.
You're a French hobbit.
Exactly. The family came from France in the 1890s to America, so we know we were in France at the time.
Now living on a flat island. Yeah, all right.
And it was my great-great-grandfather, Tintin Dupuis, was a cobbler, and they called him Tintin because they all heard him hammering on shoes around the neighborhood where they were building the Eiffel Tower at the time.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wow. Good heavens. My last name, Hagedorn, means hawthorn, which when I was about 13, lived in Europe for a year. And in Germany, we were running around looking at different churches and looking for the coat of arms to find our family crest. We actually found it, which we thought was hilarious. What was on it was there was a beehive as part of one of the little fields. You know, it's broken into 4 fields, and one of them was a beehive, which we thought was hysterical because my father supported himself through college with 25 hives, selling the honey from hives, and then there was a very small tree, which. A poet friend of mine, when I told him that story, kind of looked at me and said, boy, there really is no free will, is there?
And so from that 13-year-old adventure, how far was that from when you first took note of small trees and pots that we think of as bonsai?
Oh, wow. It was about 2 years later, coming back to the U.S., and my parents had a book in their library. It was a Sunset book. Probably many of you remember the Sunset Bonsai book, and that was the start of a wide new world. Yeah, I don't know, Jonas. I don't think I've ever asked you about your beginning. I mean, I do know that you were part of Boone's group, and that's how we met. But what was the trigger for you?
It was a very specific moment. I was working for the family business, a retail nursery in Alameda, and I was hanging out in the back pruning some Japanese maples because I'd long taken an interest in trees and pruning, had taken pruning classes in school. And a stranger walked up to me, pointed and said, "Cut it here, cut it there." And I was thinking to myself, who are you? And I did, but being...
I know who that is.
Yeah. And so I did what he said. It looked great. And I looked up and he smiled and said, "Hi, I'm Boone."
And that was in Alameda, right?
Yeah. And so this is long before Boone went to Japan, and he was really into bonsai at the time and a local tree pruner. And so not too long after that, he noticed there was a bonsai, a black pine, at the nursery. And none of us knew the first thing about bonsai. There was actually one tree in the garden when I grew up that no one ever worked on, but I always knew what bonsai was. And Boone pointed at the pine and said, "Oh, do you mind if I style that tree?" We're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Wire it, clean it up." And we're like, "No, we don't know what you mean, but go for it." And then he took the tree home. A week later, he brought it back. And to this day, I remember precisely what that tree looked like. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know that I like that particular tree, but there's something interesting here. And that was actually the moment that bonsai kind of bit me.
Oh, that's amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, some of those early memories, it's almost as acute as smell, and how how intense the visual memory is. That's really interesting.
Michael, you spent some time studying with Boone, right?
I did. Yeah, and actually Jonas and I, where we met, I believe, was
It's why we're here today.
That's right. If it wasn't for Boone, in Boone's very first intensive class, there were 2 people there, and it was you and me at his old house in Alameda. Yeah, I haven't even been to the new house. He's been there for a while. Well, I missed the one in between, and then he moved out into the country. I never went to that other one. He was there. For
that
10
was
years.
an amazing garden.
Yeah, it sounded like it. Yeah, and then Andrew, what was did your dad get into it first, and then you were part of the study group?
No, we were at a Japanese festival at the Missouri Botanical Garden, and we stumbled across a bonsai exhibit with the local club. And my dad grew up doing lots of horticultural things. He did orchids, and I grew up with 200 orchids in the house. He was big into gardening, so some of my earliest memories of plants were playing under Japanese maples at a nursery in St. Louis. But we stumbled across bonsai at the Japanese festival, and it was kind of the one horticultural endeavor that really kind of captured me. And so he bought me a bonsai tree, and he said, the rule is, if I'm going to buy you this tree, you have to go to the club meetings for an entire year to learn how to take care of it. And I was in middle school at the time. So I signed up. I was the youngest member, and like a young kid walking into a bonsai club of older people, I was kind of flocked by the vultures of the elders who were looking to share their knowledge to someone young and someone new.
Wow.
And it was a few years later that I met you in the study group in St. Louis.
Wow. Wow. And John, what burned pizza was the epiphany moment that you had to do bonsai?
Yeah, I'm the latest to the game here. I just came into the world a few years ago, although I have to say that my growing up had a lot to do with it. I grew up in a prairie in the middle of West Texas, and I think the first time I saw a tree I was in my 20s and just was blown away by trees, just forests.
There's not a lot of trees out there.
No, there are not a lot of trees out there. But bonsai, I think, we were members of the Japanese garden, and I think the local club BSOP was having their little festival there, and Lee Cheadle was there I think he was working on a little shimpaku. It was probably 4 inches tall. It might have been 2 years old. And he was wiring it up and bending it. And
Lee is infectious. Yeah.
He just drug me in. I just couldn't stop staring at him. It was like a trash fire or a car wreck. The family went on and did their thing, and I just stood there and stared at him. And then, kind of the same thing, going to the meeting, wide-eyed, 300 people. And it did not take me long to fall off that cliff.
Wow.
Have you hit bottom yet?
Working on it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And at what point did you start working at the garden here?
So at some point, I guess it was at the rendezvous that BSOP did.
Yeah.
I had met Andrew at a couple of, he came to a couple of the Sunday classes that BSOP put on, and I had met him there. I think I brought this little trident clump, and he pulled me aside and said something like, of all the trees I've seen ever brought into this club, this is the only one that I would take home, like this little clump. And it's still like my best tree, I think. But
oh my gosh!
So I started doing that, and then I think I signed up for a class at the rendezvous that Michael was doing with Yeah,
that was a
Mount
workshop.
Hemlock.
Yeah,
It was a
That's right.
hemlock,
from
right,
Antelope.
right. And
Yep.
we should mention that three of us are from and are recording from Portland, Oregon, and
That's right.
Jonas is down in California. And BSOP that we've been talking about, that's our local bonsai society here. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
And
Bonsai Society of Portland.
Andrew.
So it was,
Yes. Sorry. go
yeah, it
ahead.
was after that workshop that I just started trying to find a way to plug in. And I asked Lee to tell me, like, anybody that would let me come over and weed and water and learn. And no one ever took me up on it. So then I think I came to visit the garden here and pinned them down and forced them to let me.
He bribed us with pizza, I remember.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I remember that. Yeah. That was
It was an easy bribe.
Oh, do tell. I got to take notes.
Exactly.
For those of you who don't know, John used to have a very successful pizza food cart here in Portland. And
wood-fired
it's-
pizza.
wood-fired pizza. It's delicious.
That's amazing. Yeah. Yeah. We were sad when you sold that business. We're going there anymore.
Maybe two of us were sad.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that's, I apologize. Yes.
There's nostalgia, but I'm not sad.
He still knows how to make pizza.
And Jonas, your background, remember you did some IT work. Is that right?
Product management.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So yeah,
Mhm,
helping
mhm.
teams figure out what products to
Yeah.
build in the area of academic publishing. And that's when I actually
Right.
interviewed two members of your family over the course of a number of years doing
Oh
that work.
gosh, I forgot about that. Yeah, the librarian knowledge you were
Yeah.
tapping. I have two librarians in my family.
Yeah, so that was really
Right, I
great.
forgot about
Yeah,
that.
I remember I bumped into you at Boone's right just days, I think, before I started my first job in academic publishing. And you said, "Oh yeah, you should talk to my sister." And little did I know that your sister was running one of the most important repositories in the world at the time.
Huh.
That was the
amazing.
archive up at Michigan.
Yeah. It was interesting. She was part of something called Oyster.
Yeah, that's right.
An acronym. Yeah, which yeah. Well, we probably don't have to get into that, but that's deep in a different hole.
So Jonas, how'd you go from publishing world to bonsai world?
Well, that's, I guess the better question would be, how did I get into publishing? Because I'd already been doing bonsai work before that. And so I'd been doing a number of different jobs over the years, and I got to work with and for Boone over the years, and was always thinking about, do I want to do this full time? Or if I did do it full time, what would I want that to look like? One thing I learned from being friends with so many people doing bonsai for a living is that they're all snowflakes. And I don't mean their personalities, though that's also true, but that we assumed that, well, when you go to Japan, you come back and you do X. And I knew Kathy Shanerin was in, so long after I met Boone, I met Kathy and I started hanging out at some of her classes that she taught locally. And so I saw Kathy's experience, and then I saw Boone's experience, and then Michael's experience. And as more people went to Japan and came back, I realized they were all totally different. And I think that's continuing to this day. And so over the years, I was thinking about what might make sense for me. And what's funny is when I actually started the business is I was sitting around the house one summer 7 years ago now. And it was about 2 weeks before the Taikon 10 exhibit in Japan. And I thought, I wonder how much it costs to get a plane ticket to Japan, with 7 or 8 days notice. And so I went online, found a ticket for $652 round trip. And I just bought it without even thinking. And I thought to myself, oh, guess I just started the business. And so it was that thought out.
Yeah.
That's kind of all there was to it.
Oh my gosh.
And that was 6 years ago now.
That's great. Wonderful. Wasn't there some sort of a remodel that was happening at the same time that something else was going on? You wrote about this on your blog not too long ago. That was a different phase of the business, I think.
Yeah, that was just
What
a
was
few
that?
years ago. And that was a very busy day. On the day I signed a contract with a publisher to write the book, I pulled a permit to rebuild my workshop.
Oh, that was it. Right.
And that was on top of a job that had prevented me from really taking any time off for several years in a row. So that's when I learned that if you sleep less, you can get more done in a day.
Boy, that's like Winston Churchill. Didn't he say if you get a really long nap in, you can have pretty much 2 days of work?
Yeah, there you go.
Something like that, which is not me at all. I need a nap.
Oh,
just to
yeah.
get through one
Speaking
day.
of building projects concurrent with a bonsai business.
Hey, I'm going to cut in here real quick. I think we need to take a little break to hear from one of our sponsors. Be right back. Are you tired of your antique Chinese bonsai pot looking drab and dull on the shelf? Have you ever lost a competition because your pot had lost its luster? Are you embarrassed to have your friends over because your pot collection has fallen into disrepair? Patina Buster is a new, environmentally friendly solvent that removes hundreds of years of grime and buildup in no time. Just brush it on, wait 5 minutes, and use a wire brush and power washer to remove. Simple as that. Works better than scrubbing powder, steel wool, and sandblasting. With a single day work, you could restore your entire collection back to the bright and shiny jewel that the potter originally created. Find us now at www.bonsaiwirepodcast.com/patinabuster.
Okay, so I think we're back here. I think that Jonas was asking about or mentioned something about building projects to Michael. I think it was
Yes.
probably referring to the tiny house or something. What do you think? Michael?
Right. A few years ago, while Andrew was an apprentice here, we had a big project where we built a tiny home, which was intended to house me, and then Andrew and future apprentices could then live in the studio residence, and that did end up being what happened. But we all seem to be building things. Andrew's building a house right now as well. And to house his business. Raku, you want to pronounce that for us, Andrew?
Yeah, rakuyo. Rakuyo is the Japanese word for deciduous. It's not what they use in the bonsai world. They use zoki just as kind of everything that's not a pine or juniper. But rakuyo is the traditional word for deciduous. It means falling leaf. And I chose that name for my business because I love deciduous trees. I love deciduous material, and that's kind of where I wanted to focus my business. And I wanted to stay close after my apprenticeship. I really love the community here in Portland. I love staying close and working with you, Michael. And so it was kind of fun to find a property that was really close by, just a mile away from you.
Incredibly close. I could walk there in 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's a super close place. And it'll be great for people in the future just to, swing by both places when they're in this neck of the woods. But yeah, I'm building a deciduous focused garden with my family. And that'll be a fun project. We're about halfway through the building of a house, and then this fall I'll also start building a garden. So it's a lot of fun.
Neat. Yeah, it's been exciting to see rise out of the ground. Yeah. And then John has a totally different tack for the following his apprenticeship.
Yeah, I've got some friends that bought 40 acres just about half an hour west of Portland, and we're just in the conversation right now for when the apprenticeship ends in a year to start growing trees. So kind of standing on some shoulders of some giants that have grown trees before me and trying to learn everything I can to get some trees grown in the ground. So doing rough stock, a lot of stuff from cuttings and seeds. So yeah, kind of looking forward to that. Going to get the greenhouse in hopefully by this winter. I'm going to share space with the person that's building they're going to build a 5-acre farm, and then we're going to use a couple of acres for trees. So kind of working on collaboration spaces and greenhouses and such. Yeah,
and Jonas dabbles in growing too, right? I've heard you grow black pines.
Oh yeah. Among other things.
just wherever I turn, there's another seedling popping up. I'm not exactly,
and you just
really
put them
sure.
in the pots, right?
They kind of pot themselves at this point. I'm not sure how it all happens. Yeah.
So how do you, before COVID, Jonas, how would you say you spent most of your time? Like, what are you dedicating your energy to?
Mostly just sitting up on that hill with the bonsai monks. We'll tell you more about that when you graduate your apprenticeship.
Okay, good.
that's where the bulk of the time goes. But when I'm not up in the cave with the monks, then it's pretty much teaching classes, writing blog posts, growing trees, doing some client work, and then traveling around to teach classes, do workshops, work with a handful of clients.
Mm.
So it's really a mix of a lot of things. Oh yeah, and then there's an online store and wholesaling soil around the country. So little mix
That's
of this
incredibly
and that and
diverse.
this and that. Yeah.
Really, really diverse business you have. Yeah, it's really inspiring. It's good.
I'd say it's more of a warning, but I'm glad it can be inspiring.
And then, Michael, how does your day usually break down or week? Like, how do you dedicate your time?
Yeah, I usually start the day with some writing. When I get up, I'm kind of an early riser and an early to bed. And I can't seem to do much at all in the evenings. That's of any use to anybody. But I start the day with writing and sort of do the administrative work of the business in the morning, and then I come in the afternoon, right after lunch, to work with trees and talk with John and admonish John and
Get out the bamboo whip.
That's right. Yeah, these days it's a much longer stick. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And you just came out with a book.
Yeah, Bonsai Heresy. Right. That was a long time in writing, and had a great time working with several people. Sergio Kwan is this really amazingly talented, hilarious graphic artist who I've never actually met. One of these days I want to meet you, Sergio. But he lives on the other side of the country. And we had a great time. Also, Wayne Shea of Stone Lantern supported that project, and that's the place where you can find it.
So have the Bonsai Heretics come at you with the pitchforks yet?
They haven't. I've been a little worried because I assume they're organizing, because I haven't even seen
They might just be in quarantine,
singly.
but I'm sure once there's a vaccine, they'll come after you.
Possible. And Jonas, you just wrote a book too. He came out at almost just a few months before mine did.
Yeah, just a little bit before that.
Yeah, little book of bonsai.
Yeah, and it's still small.
And it's
It hasn't grown?
No, I mean there's lots of them, but they are all still small, so that's good. That was a ton of fun. Yeah, I'm also working on whatever will come next, but as that just involves giving up more sleep to do more book projects.
Yeah, they're fun. I'm working on a series of essays that'll be a book with the working title of "Yanking on Needles."
Awesome.
Which sort of a Western. Our set of Western problems.
We have many.
Yeah, we as I'm discovering, as I'm writing, we have more and
So
more.
Western problems might be the perfect segue to talk about kind of the scope of what we're looking to do going forward on the podcast, which is talk to people who interest all of us, have roundtable discussions among the four of us, give or take, whoever happens to be in the area, and try to engage whatever topics we find interesting along the way. And we're hoping to do this at a rate of ideally a couple of these a month, give or take, depending on our schedules and what's coming to mind.
Yeah. And when somebody like Jonas is off in another country, we're gonna try and interview you, Jonas. Whoever's traveling, whoever's somewhere else.
That sounds perfect.
Yeah, so we will have topics where we talk amongst the four of us, and then others maybe in a 50-50 proportion where we're interviewing other people. And our first interview will be with Colin Lewis. Next week, we're going to grab him on the phone.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I look forward to that.
We have the consistency of working together in the art of bonsai, but we're different enough. Hopefully there will be some really interesting conversations that come out and interests that get piqued and that sort of thing.
Yes, and hopefully our voices are different enough that you can distinguish all of us. Hopefully.
There's software for that. We can modify that.
Right. So our next podcast will be about curating a collection, and we have several ideas about what we mean by that. And
tell a friend and join us for the next episode.
Cheers.
So thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Bonsai Wire. You can find more information at www.bonsaiwirepodcast.com. Thank you so much. See you soon.
The music on today's podcast was brought to you by the fine folks at Blue Dot Sessions. Check them out at www.sessions.blue.
We won't need to say the W's. I'll probably set it up so there's no W's, but it'll still resolve back to the base domain.
No, you have to say the W's. That like gives emphasis.